Welcome back. High road fatality figures this time of year must lead to a shift in how we think about road safety or even what we consider to be safe cars. Well, in developing countries like South Africa, vehicle safety sometimes takes a back seat over affordability and high-tech accessories. eNCA's Michael Appel has this exclusive behind-the-scenes look at the crash tests of 5 locally sold cars.
South Africa's road death toll is staggering. 14,000 people died in road accidents last year. The Road Traffic Management Corporation says there were an average of 40 deaths per day on our roads in 2016. It's an untenable situation and one that has to get South Africans to think differently about road and vehicle safety. And sometimes seeing is believing. While some of us have a need for speed, its consequences even at 64 kilometers per hour are staggering to witness. The global new car assessment program, known around the world as NCAP, has launched its Safer Cars for Africa project in South Africa. Facilitating that project locally is the Automobile Association that welcomes the initiative.
This project is important because with 14,000 people dying on our roads alone last year, every step we can take to reduce that carnage is critical. Without spending too much money, it is possible to be getting ABS braking, electronic stability control, on entry-level cars these days. These are the things that can make a difference in the event of a crash. You could potentially prevent a crash. Beyond that, to consider what happens if you're involved in a crash. How safe is that car, and how safe are you and your family while driving it?
These 5 cars were purchased in South Africa, but they're not necessarily built locally. Each car was purchased without the manufacturer's knowledge and shipped here to Landsberg in Germany for crash testing. The vehicles were selected based on a retail price of under 200,000 Rand and their overall popularity among South Africans. NCAP puts cars through the most stringent safety tests in the world. Points are awarded for how safe the driver, passenger and 2 children in the rear seats are during a crash. But these crash test dummies are no dummies. They're incredibly expensive, sophisticated and accurate pieces of equipment. And luckily, they can be reused. NCAP has been testing cars since 1979. And crashing thousands of vehicles has helped it develop the latest and most comprehensive safety standard in the world. It's optional for car makers to submit their vehicles for these tests, but the coveted 5-star rating, the highest you can get, gives a would-be motorist peace of mind. It also allows the manufacturer to advertise the NCAP rating, if it's good. Alejandro Furas is Global NCAP's technical director. He has decades of experience in crashing cars and analyzing the results.
Global statistics shows that the most serious injuries happen when 2 cars are meeting head-to-head or crashing head-to-head in a road, 50% in the width. That's actually the most frequent configuration of test at 55 kilometers an hour each one of these cars. What we are doing in the lab is trying to replicate the effect of this kind of crash in the car we're testing. Instead of 50% of the front, we take 40% of the front, which is less part of the car, less width of the car is being used for the crash, which means it's a more demanding situation than the one that I just explained. And we increase the speed a little bit more.
This test facility crashes only 1 car a day. Making sure the car is correctly prepared takes hours. And there is very little room for error, just 2 centimeters to be precise.
The requirement is that when we crash into the blue box, which is the other car we're crashing, we have an accurate line and we should not move apart more than 20 millimeters or 2 centimeters away from that. So it requires a lot of precision. So when the car is ready, we go for the final alignment. The filing alignment is in reference to the rails. The car has to be completely straight and aiming exactly at the exact contact point of the box. To check that we are in the exact contact point, what we do, we put a nail on the side of the car in the bumper, and we put a sticker on the side of the box. And the center of the sticker is exactly at the contact point of the nail. And we will check that when the crash happens, if the nail impact was exactly at the center, or if there was some deviation, but the tolerance must be into the 20 millimeters.
The NCAP rating doesn't only look at how the dummies perform, it also takes into account car seat friendly vehicles. Installing a car seat correctly, how difficult could it be?
We have two kinds of passengers in the car. We have adults in the front and we have children in the back of the car, in the second row. The adults don't need more than a seatbelt. That's actually what we need to be protected, and of course airbags and all that. When it comes to the children always must use a child seat. And proper child seat, it means that each children, different age, different size, they need different types of child seats. So when we do the assessment for the star rating, we don't look after just for the children and how they are protected only, but we check also that the child seat is properly installed, can be properly installed in the car, and that the car itself is friendly with as many child seats as possible. What we call is allows universal child seats to be installed in the car. The rating of the star rating for the child occupants, it's a combination of a child seat and a car. We may have a great car with 5-star performance and child safety, but if we change the seat, that car probably might end up being a 0-star in child protection.
You may have seen a little label on your back seat that reads ISOFIX. It signals a safety feature designed specifically for anchoring a child seat to the car. It's much safer than just fastening it with a seatbelt. All cars manufactured for sale in Europe are required by law to have these ISOFIX anchorage points. But what about South Africa?
Unfortunately, in South Africa, like in other emerging markets, it's not mandatory that new cars have those anchor points. There are two important things. It's not good and it's not possible to properly attach aftermarket those systems. Any attempt, homemade or any other kind, it's dangerous because the attachment points are designed in the car and for the car, into the car production. So in order to have those anchored points in the market in South Africa, they need to be mandatory by the government. Otherwise, we have cars that do have the system or do have the anchor points. Other ones, they don't offer the anchorage points.
We know that child restraint usage in South Africa is low. And it is critical that this is resolved. It is not only a legal requirement, it is an ethical requirement from the adult in charge of the vehicle to ensure the safety of all the occupants.
One by one, the 5 cars are sent hurtling into the barrier. The Toyota Etios came out tops, getting an adult occupant rating of 4 stars and a child occupant rating of 3 stars. The worst performer, the Cherry QQ3, received a 0-star rating because it doesn't have any airbags and only offers marginal protection for the driver's chest and head. After the crash, the vehicle's body was found to be unstable and the footwell area was ruptured. Furas had this to say about the Etios.
What we have here is more or less the type of car we find in Latin America. And in this particular car, so basically we're not surprised to see this kind of things. For this particular car, we tested it already for Brazil and India, and the good news is that it performs quite similar in the 3 scenarios we have tested it so far. This is the 3rd time we test the Etios. We did Etios from Brazil, Etios India, and the Etios we just purchased in South Africa.
So there's consistency in the manufacture.
Yeah.
So if I had to ask you, are all cars created equal? The same VW or Nissan or whatever badge, BMW badge, there is no guarantee that that car that you're driving in South Africa with a particular badge meets the same standard as any other car from around the world with that same badge?
According to our experience in Latin NCAP and India, we found many models that they look alike, the same model, same name, same brand in Europe, for example, and they are much less equipped. And not just that, we also found that the construction of the cars, structurally speaking, the materials, the welding, the production procedures are different as well. So even if the car looks exactly the same, even if you had the same features, when you're going to have actually this car exposed or in a situation in a crash condition, or basically performing a crash test, probably will behave very different to what is the European or US or Japanese model that we have in mind.
The AA isn't necessarily pinning its hopes on government rushing to improve the minimum safety standards of vehicles being sold in the South African market. But it's hoping consumers will drive this initiative to demand safer cars from manufacturers.
It's not too much of a problem to put on consumption and emission stickers on every car that's sold. That information is made public. A safety rating needs to be made public for every car sold in South Africa.
In South Africa, you have a chance to think about protecting your own people, protecting the South Africans that are buying new cars. And as an initiative from the car manufacturer side, also from the government side, think about how many lives you can save with these things, for example, even pedestrian protection as well, and include those things, thinking about the lives you're going to save in the next 2, 3, 4, 10 years.
You can see as a consumer, you've got one car here that's a 4-star car, quite good. You've got here a 0-star car, and that's a life and death choice for motorists. Governments need to make sure that they are applying the minimum UN crash test standards. This car would not pass that. This one does.
At the launch of Safer Cars for Africa, the AA CEO, Collins Khumalo, revealed that research they've done indicates South Africans overwhelmingly are in favor of a safety rating sticker being attached to every new vehicle sold.
Do you think it is important for vehicles to show or to be able to have a sticker that shows what is its safety rating? Again, a resounding 93.81% of people said definitely yes, because that will also further assist us in being able to make the right kind of decisions to make sure that we buy the cars that will protect us.
One thing that is overwhelmingly clear is that all cars are not created equal. And the badge at the front of the car that is sold in Europe, Latin America or Asia, and the cars we find on our roads with that same badge could be miles apart. This project, it seems, is not necessarily about guilting manufacturers into improving safety standards in their cars. It's about arming consumers with information so that they can make decisions based on more than just cost and bells and whistles that have nothing to do with safety. Michael Appel in the crash test facility in Landsberg in Germany.